The slave market was not a place for the weak. It was built inside a massive dome of black stone, older than any empire, lit by floating crystals that glowed in shifting shades of blue and violet. Shadows twisted across the walls, and the air smelled of smoke, sweat, and fear. Every sound echoed: the clink of chains, the bark of guards, the muffled cries of those too broken to hide their pain. Aliens from across the stars filled the seats around the auction platform. They came in all shapes and forms: long-necked creatures with shimmering scales, bulky giants with tusks curling from their jaws, thin gray-skinned merchants whose eyes blinked sideways. Some wore robes lined with jewels. Others carried weapons at their sides. All of them had one thing in common: the hunger to own, to control, to buy and sell lives as if they were nothing more than cattle. On the raised platform, the slaves were paraded one by one. Some were from distant worlds, their bodies covered in fur, feathers, or strange colored skin. But when the human girl was pushed forward, the hall grew unusually quiet. She stumbled but quickly caught herself. Her wrists were bound in iron cuffs, her ankles bruised from travel. Her dress was torn, exposing skin marked with dirt and exhaustion. Yet despite the chains, there was something in her eyes that refused to bow. Wide and full of fear, yes, but also bright, alive, and unbroken. The auctioneer, a thick-bodied alien with skin like rough stone and a voice like grinding metal, raised his arms. "A rare prize tonight," he roared. "A human female. Fragile, yes, but rare. Beauty unmatched among lesser species. Who will begin the bidding?" The crowd murmured. Some sneered, dismissing her as weak. Others leaned forward, intrigued. One alien with skin the color of burning coal hissed, "Humans don't last long. Too soft." Another, a merchant with 6 thin arms and jeweled rings on each finger, replied with a smirk, "Soft perhaps, but look at her. She could fetch a high price in the right circles." The girl's heart pounded in her chest. She tried to breathe, tried not to show the terror twisting in her stomach. She felt every pair of alien eyes watching her, judging her, measuring her worth like she was an object. Her fists clenched against the chains, the metal biting her skin. Then everything changed. The hall grew silent, as if a great wind had swept the voices away. A ripple of fear moved through the crowd. Heads turned, backs straightened. Even the guards froze. Through the crystal-lit gates, she appeared. The alien queen. She was taller than any human, her very presence commanding obedience. Her robe shimmered like liquid silver and violet, flowing around her as if alive. Her skin glowed faintly, smooth and flawless, traced with bioluminescent lines that pulsed like living starlight. Her golden eyes shone brighter than the crystals above, sharp enough to cut through armor, yet deep enough to drown in. A crown-like crest rose naturally from her skull, elegant and terrifying all at once. The girl's knees nearly gave way under that gaze. This was no ordinary ruler. This was a conqueror whispered about in every corner of the galaxy, the queen who had broken armies and bent entire worlds to her will. The auctioneer stammered, his voice cracking. "Why, your majesty, a surprise honor. Will you?" "Mine." The word was like a blade through the silence. The queen had not shouted. She did not need to. Her voice was calm, smooth, and absolute. The auctioneer froze, his stone-like face pale. "Oh, of course, but the bidding. Do you question me?" Her eyes shifted toward him, and he immediately bowed, trembling. "No, my queen. Forgive me." The girl was shoved forward, her chains rattling. She stumbled again, and this time she landed almost at the queen's feet. For a moment she dared to look up. The alien queen looked down at her, her golden eyes glowing softly. The girl expected cruelty, maybe even mockery. Instead, she saw something she could not explain. Curiosity, intrigue, as though the queen saw more than just a slave. The girl's lips trembled. Against her own fear, she whispered, "Why me?" The queen bent ever so slightly, her voice low, meant for the girl alone. "Because," she said, "you are different." The word struck her harder than the chains. Different? What did that mean? Around them, the crowd erupted into whispers. Some aliens gasped, Others sneered, but none dared to speak too loudly. Fear and confusion spread across the hall. The queen straightened again, her robes glowing faintly under the crystal light. With a gesture of her hand, the girl's chains were unlocked. Cold iron fell to the floor, and the sound echoed like a drumbeat in the silent chamber. The girl's wrists ached with sudden freedom, but her body shook. She was no longer in chains, yet she was not free. She belonged to the queen now, a ruler who could crush her with a single command. As the guards cleared the way, the queen turned and began to walk out of the hall. The girl hesitated, her legs weak, until a guard pushed her forward. She followed, her bare feet against the cold stone floor. Every eye followed them until the great doors closed behind. In that moment, one thing became clear to everyone who had witnessed it. The alien queen had purchased a human, not as a servant, not as a toy, but for a reason none of them could understand. And for the girl, fear and confusion mixed with a strange, dangerous question. What did the queen truly want from her? The palace of the alien queen was unlike anything the human girl had ever seen. It rose from the ground like a mountain of black crystal, its spires sharp and gleaming under the alien sky. Strange lights flickered within the walls, glowing veins that pulsed as though the palace itself were alive. When the gates opened, the girl was led inside, her bare feet pressing against floors that were smooth as glass yet cold as ice. She expected to find fire, chains, and screams, the kind of horrors told in whispered stories of tyrants and monsters. Instead, the palace was silent. Too silent. The halls stretched endlessly, decorated with silver banners that shimmered with symbols she could not read. Statues of alien warriors, tall and fierce, stood like guardians along the walls. Their eyes seemed to follow her as she walked. Guards escorted her closely, their armor glowing faintly, their faces hidden behind masks of steel. They kept their distance, but she could feel their unease. They were afraid, not of her, but of the one who now claimed her. At last, the girl was brought to a chamber unlike the rest, vast, dimly lit, and filled with a faint mist that curled around the floor like smoke. In the center stood a throne carved from living stone, black with veins of silver running through it, and upon it sat the alien queen. Her golden eyes burned in the half-light. She did not wear a crown-like crest proudly this time. Instead, her robes hung loosely, revealing the faint glow of markings across her collarbones and arms. She looked less like a ruler commanding an empire, and more like something ancient, something dangerous, something that could break or protect with a single thought. The guards pushed the girl forward, then stepped back, leaving her alone before the throne. "Leave us," the queen said. The words were calm, but they carried the weight of law. Without hesitation, the guards bowed and vanished into the shadows of the hall. The doors closed with a deep echo, leaving only the two of them. The girl stood frozen. Her heart pounded in her chest. She expected cruelty. She expected to be beaten or mocked, perhaps questioned until she broke. Instead, the queen studied her silently. "You are afraid," the queen finally said. Her voice was low, steady, almost soft. The girl swallowed hard. "I should be. Should you?" The queen tilted her head. "Do you know who I am?" The girl nodded. "Everyone knows. You conquer worlds. You destroy them." A faint smile touched the queen's lips, but it was not warm. "And yet, here you stand, still speaking. Not all have that courage." The girl's hands tightened into fists. "Courage?" she whispered. "I'm just trying to survive." For a moment, silence filled the chamber. The queen leaned forward, her golden eyes glowing brighter. "Survival is no small thing," she said. "Many stronger than you have failed." The girl felt heat rise to her face. She hated that this queen spoke to her, as if she were both weak and special at the same time. She hated that her heart raced not only with fear, but with something she did not understand. "Why me?" she asked again, her voice trembling. "There were others, stronger, faster. You could have chosen anyone." The queen's expression shifted just slightly. For the first time, her gaze softened, almost human. "Because the others would break," she said. "You will not." The girl froze. How could this queen, this monster, see that in her? She wanted to deny it, to call the queen a liar, but the words caught in her throat. The queen rose from her throne, her tall figure moving with silent grace. Each step she took echoed like a drumbeat on the stone floor. When she stopped, she stood so close the girl could see the glow of faint patterns across her skin, as if her very blood carried starlight. "You are mine now," the queen said, her voice a whisper that seemed to fill the entire chamber. "But do not mistake chains for your place here. I did not buy you to watch you suffer." The girl's breath caught. Her mind spun. Then why? The queen's eyes burned into hers. "Because," she said slowly, "there are things even a queen cannot command. Desires, questions, darkness." She leaned closer, so close the girl felt the heat of her breath. "And I wonder if you, fragile human, will survive them." The girl's heart thundered. She wanted to step back, but her legs refused to move. She wanted to speak, but her throat closed. The queen straightened again, turning away as though nothing had been said. "You will stay here. You will eat, sleep, and walk freely. But you will not leave this palace. Do you understand?" The girl nodded, though her mind was spinning. The queen waved her hand, and servants appeared from the shadows, silent and graceful, bowing as they approached. "Take her," the queen ordered. "Give her clothes. Give her food. Treat her as one of the court." The servants led the girl away, and as she glanced back, she saw the queen return to her throne, her golden eyes distant, her face unreadable. That night, lie on a soft bed in a chamber larger than any home she had ever known. The girl stared at the ceiling. She was not in chains. She was not being beaten. Yet her fear had not lessened. It had only changed. For now she knew one thing for certain. The alien queen did not buy her to destroy her. She had bought her for something else. Something far more dangerous. Days passed inside the palace. But time felt strange to the girl. The halls of black crystal were endless, and every turn seemed to lead to another chamber, another corridor, another set of silent guards. She was fed well, dressed in fine clothes of soft fabric, and treated with a respect that confused her. No chains, no beatings, no harsh words. Yet she could never forget one truth. She was not free. Everywhere she went, there were eyes. Guards in silver armor stood at every corner, their masks hiding any sign of humanity. Servants moved like shadows, bowing whenever she passed, never speaking unless ordered. She was surrounded by silence, a silence that pressed heavy on her chest. At night, she lay awake in her bed, the alien sheets soft against her skin, and wondered why she was here. The queen's words haunted her. Desires, questions, darkness. What did they mean? What did the queen want from her? On the third night, she could not bear it anymore. She left her chamber quietly, her bare feet silent on the polished floor. The guards at her door did not move to stop her, only followed from a distance, their glowing armor casting faint light on the walls. The girl wandered deeper into the palace, past rooms filled with treasures from across the galaxy, jewels that pulsed with their own light, weapons forged from black metal, banners from conquered worlds. Each trophy told a story of power, of victory, of lives taken. Finally, she came to a door different from the others. It was smaller, older, carved from stone rather than crystal. Strange markings lined its surface, symbols that seemed to shimmer faintly when she touched them. She hesitated, then pushed it open. Inside was not a treasure hall, but something far simpler, a private chamber. The walls were lined with shelves holding strange objects, books with alien symbols, delicate carvings, and fragments of things that looked human. A necklace of glass beads, a child's wooden toy, a cloth embroidered with flowers. The girl froze, her heart racing. These were not the trophies of war. These were things kept, cherished. And in the center of the room sat the alien queen. She was not dressed in her royal robes. Instead, she wore something plain, dark, simple. Her crown-like crest caught the glow of a single crystal lamp, and her golden eyes turned toward the girl slowly. "You should not be here," the queen said, her voice calm but heavy. The girl swallowed. I couldn't sleep." The queen studied her for a long moment. Curiosity is a dangerous thing in this palace. The girl hesitated, then stepped further inside. What is this place? The queen's gaze flickered across the shelves. For a moment, her face softened. Memories, she said. Things I cannot command. Things I cannot forget. The girl's eyes moved to the human objects again. These are from Earth, aren't they? The queen did not answer right away. Then she nodded. From long ago, when my armies first found your kind. The girl's chest tightened. Did you take them from the people you killed? The queen's eyes sharpened, but not in anger, more in pain. Yes, some were spoils. Others were left behind. Not all humans died, but those who lived became scattered, broken. Silence filled the room. The girl wanted to scream, to curse this queen, to tell her she was nothing but a monster. Yet her voice would not come. Instead, she whispered, "Why keep them?" The queen turned her gaze back to the lamp, its soft light casting shadows across her face. Because even monsters are lonely. The word struck the girl like a blow. She had expected cruelty, pride, arrogance. But loneliness? That she had not expected. The queen rose slowly, her tall figure moving with grace, her robe brushing the floor like flowing water. She stepped closer, and again the girl felt trapped by those golden eyes. "You wonder why I chose you," the queen said. "You think I bought you to amuse myself, to break you. But I have broken countless before. I have no need for another shattered thing." The girl's throat tightened. "Then what do you want?" The queen leaned closer, her voice low. "I want to see if something unbroken can survive beside me." The girl's breath caught. She wanted to step back, but the queen's presence held her in place. Her heart pounded so loudly she thought it would burst. Then, suddenly, the queen turned away, her robe swaying with emotion. She returned to the throne-like chair in the center of the chamber and sat down, her face unreadable once more. "Go," she said quietly. "Sleep. Tomorrow you will walk the palace with me." The girl hesitated. She wanted to ask more, to demand answers, but something in the queen's tone made her obey. She left the chamber, her steps quick, her mind spinning. Back in her bed, she stared at the ceiling again, but this time her thoughts were not only of fear. They were the queen's eyes, the queen's voice, the strange softness hidden beneath the armor power. The queen was a monster, but monsters, it seemed, could have secrets. And the most dangerous secret of all was this. The girl was beginning to see the queen as more than just her captor. The next morning, the girl was awoken by the soft chime of a bell. 2 silent servants entered her chamber, bringing clothing finer than anything she had worn before. It was a long dress woven from smooth fabric that shimmered faintly when it caught the light, threads of silver and deep blue flowing like water. The servants did not speak, only bowed and guided her to dress. She felt strange wearing it, like she was being prepared for something she did not understand. Her hands trembled as she touched the fabric, and she wondered if this was another kind of chain, softer but still binding. When the doors opened, guards led her through the endless halls once again. But this time, she was not taken to a private chamber. She was led to a vast balcony high above the city. The view stole her breath. Below stretched an alien world, its sky painted with 2 suns glowing pale gold, casting long shadows across towers of black crystal. The city pulsed with light, rivers of energy flowing through the streets, ships rising and falling like birds of steel. She had never seen anything so vast, so alive, and yet so cold. And standing at the edge of the balcony was the queen. She turned when the girl approached, her golden eyes bright against the sunlight. She was dressed differently now, less like a ruler, more like a warrior, a cloak draped across her shoulders, her skin markings glowing faintly as though alive. For a moment, she looked not like a queen of empires, but like a creature made of fire and shadow. "You see it now," the queen said, her voice steady. "My world, my empire, all of it bows to me." The girl nodded slowly, unsure what to say. "It's beautiful," she whispered. The queen's gaze lingered on her. "And yet, I find no beauty in it anymore." The girl frowned. "Why?" The queen stepped closer, her tall figure casting a shadow over the girl. "Because power without purpose is emptiness, and desire without meaning is hunger that never ends." The words chilled the girl. She wanted to step back, but the balcony wall was at her back. The queen's golden eyes burned brighter now, not with anger, but with something else. Something the girl could not name, but could feel. "You are afraid of me," the queen said softly. The girl swallowed hard. "Yes, and yet you do not run." The girl's heart pounded. "Where would I run to?" The queen tilted her head, studying her face with unsettling focus. "Not all chains are iron," she said. "Some are made of fear, some of longing." The girl's breath caught. The queen's words fell heavy, like a door opening to something dangerous. She wanted to deny it, to shout that she was no one's prisoner, not a fear, not a desire. But her body betrayed her. Her chest rose too quickly. Her hands trembled, and she could not meet the queen's eyes. The queen reached out slowly, her hand lifting until it hovered near the girl's face. She did not touch, not yet, but the heat of her skin was there, close enough to feel. The girl froze. Her mind screamed at her to move, to resist, but her body stayed still. "You hate me," the queen whispered, "and yet you listen when I speak. You fear me, and yet you do not look away. Tell me, human, is it hatred that keeps you here, or something else?" The girl forced herself to look up, her eyes meeting the queen's. "I don't know," she whispered. The queen's lips curved, not in cruelty, but in something that almost looked like sadness. She lowered her hands slowly, letting the air between them remain charged, unsettled. "You will," she said. For the rest of that day, the queen kept the girl close. She walked with her through gardens filled with glowing plants that pulsed with their own light, through halls where alien artwork covered the walls, and through chambers filled with music played by strange instruments. Wherever they went, the courtiers and guards bowed deeply, whispering behind their masks. The girl could feel their stares. She knew what they saw, a fragile human at the queen's side, treated with attention no other slave had ever known. It made her skin prickle. It made her feel like she was standing on a blade's edge. That night, when she was returned to her chamber, she lay awake for hours, staring at her hands. She remembered the warmth of the queen's nearness, the way her voice had wrapped around her words like silk, the way her eyes had burned with something beyond command. Fear still filled her. But now, fear was not the only thing inside her. There was something else. Something she could not admit, not even to herself. The alien queen was dangerous. She was cruel. She was everything a human should hate. And yet, the girl could not stop thinking about her. The palace never truly slept. Even when the twin suns set, strange lights glowed in the walls, and the air hummed with the sound of distant machinery. But at night, when shadows stretched long and silence deepened, whispers moved like hidden knives. The girl could feel them. Servants who bowed by day spoke quietly in corners by night. Guards whose faces never showed emotion glanced at her when they thought she was not looking. The courtiers, wrapped in silks and jewels, stared with narrowed eyes when she walked beside the queen. Their whispers were not about her beauty or her weakness anymore. They were about the queen. The alien queen, feared across the galaxy, had never shown interest in anything but conquest and power. But now she walked the palace with a human girl at her side. She invited her into her private chambers. She let her speak freely. She looked at her with something her people had never seen before, and that frightened them. One evening, as the girl passed through a great hall filled with alien nobles, she heard them mutter. "The queen is distracted," one hissed. "Obsessed," another replied, "with a human of all things. She grows weak." The girl lowered her eyes and walked faster, her chest tightening. Weak? Could love, or whatever this was, make someone weak? She did not know, but she knew the courtiers believed it, and belief could turn into something deadly. That night, when she was taken again to the queen's side, she saw it too. The queen was seated on her throne, but she did not carry the same stillness as before. She shifted, restless, her golden eyes following the girl with a kind of hunger that made her breath catch. When the courtiers bowed and left, the queen stood and approached her. "You hear them," the queen said. The girl froze. "Hear what?" "The whispers," the queen answered, her voice low. "They think I cannot see." but I see everything." The girl's throat tightened. They're afraid of me." The queen stepped closer, her tall figure casting the girl in shadow. "No," she said. "They are afraid of what you mean to me." The girl's heart stumbled. She did not know what to say. The queen's golden eyes softened, but only slightly. "They call it weakness. They do not understand that weakness and desire are not the same." The girl whispered, "And what am I to you?" The queen leaned close, so close the girl could feel the warmth of her skin, the faint glow of the markings across her neck. "A question I cannot answer," she said softly. "Not yet." Before the girl could speak, the doors opened. A guard stepped inside, bowing deeply. "My queen," he said, his voice trembling, "there's unrest in the outer courts. Some nobles, they refuse your command." The queen's eyes flashed with fury. "Refuse?" "Yes," the guard said. "They say you have lost your edge, that a human has blinded you." The silence that followed was heavy. The girl felt her chest tighten, shame and fear tangling inside her. She wanted to protest, to say it wasn't true, but her voice would not come. The queen's robes rustled as she moved forward, her voice sharp and cold now. "Gather them. Tomorrow they will kneel before me, or they will not rise again." The guard bowed and hurried out. The queen turned back to the girl. For a moment, her face was unreadable. Then she stepped closer and touched the girl's chin lightly, tilting her face upward. "Do you see what they make me do?" the queen whispered. "They force me to choose between my throne and—" She stopped, the word hanging in the air like fire. The girl's breath trembled. "And me?" The queen's eyes burned into hers. For a long moment, there was no sound but their breathing, no light but the golden glow of her gaze. Then, just as quickly, the queen pulled back, her face returning to its massive stone. "Go," she said. "Sleep. Tomorrow, the court will see their queen's strength." The girl obeyed, but as she walked away, her hands shook. The queen was fighting her enemies, yes, but she was also fighting herself. That night, lying in her chamber, the girl could not close her eyes. She remembered the queen's touch, the heat in her voice, the fire in her eyes. But she also remembered the whispers of the court. If the queen's people believed she was weak, they would not forgive it. They would strike. And when they struck, the girl knew she would be the first weapon they used. The morning came heavy with tension. The palace, usually silent and cold, felt restless. Guards stood tighter at their posts, their glowing armor brighter than usual, and servants whispered nervously as they hurried through the halls. Something was wrong. The girl felt it the moment she woke. She dressed quickly, her hands trembling as she tied the belt of the robe they had given her. When the guards came to escort her to the queen's throne room, their steps were sharp and hurried. Even without words, their unease filled the air. The throne hall was crowded. Nobles from across the empire had gathered, their jeweled robes shimmering, their alien faces tense with fear or defiance. The alien queen sat high upon a throne, her golden eyes hard as steel. She looked every inch the conqueror again, tall, commanding, untouchable. Yet the girl could feel the tension under her stillness. "You dare question me?" The queen's voice rang out, smooth and dangerous. One noble, bold and sharp-tongued, stepped forward. His skin was pale silver, his eyes like polished stone. "We question not your crown, my queen," he said, bowing just enough to avoid insult. "We question your choices, your distraction." His eyes flicked toward the girl. The hall stirred with whispers. The queen's golden gaze narrowed. "You question my rule?" The noble lifted his chin. "I question what weakens it." The air grew thick. For a heartbeat, no one moved. Then the queen stood, her robe flowing like a storm. "Kneel," she commanded. Some nobles bowed instantly, fear driving them down. But others did not move. A dangerous silence fell. The girl's chest tightened. She felt eyes on her, sharp and accusing. She should not be here. She should never have been brought into this hall. She opened her mouth to speak, to beg the queen to send her away, but she never had the chance. It happened too quickly. From the side doors, armored rebels stormed into the hall. Their weapons glowed with burning light, and their battle cries echoed against the crystal walls. The queen's guards drew their blades at once, the clash of metal and energy filling the air. Screams rose from the nobles, some fleeing, others calling out for the queen's death. The girl stumbled backward as the chaos erupted. A guard tried to shield her, but 3 rebels charged forward. One struck the guard down, another grabbed her by the arm, and the third raised a blade to her throat. "Do not move, Majesty," the rebel leader shouted across the hall. His weapon glowed bright against the girl's skin. "Or the human dies." The queen froze. For the first time, her face changed, not in fear for herself, but for the girl. Her golden eyes burned with fury, but she did not take a step forward. "Release her," the queen said, her voice low and sharp. The rebel laughed. "You have slaughtered thousands, yet we find your weakness in a single fragile creature. How fitting." He pressed the blade closer, and the girl gasped, her knees trembling. The queen's hands clenched at her sides. Power shimmered faintly across her skin, the bioluminescent markings glowing brighter. But she did not strike. Not yet. One wrong move, and the girl would die. The girl's mind raced. She could feel the sharp heat of the weapon, the iron grip of the rebel's hand. She should have been frozen in terror, but something inside her stirred instead. She remembered the queen's words, "Not all chains are iron." "Don't," she whispered, her voice shaking but strong enough to carry. "Don't do this for me." The queen's eyes locked on hers. For a moment, the fury softened, replaced by something else, something raw and unguarded. The rebel sneered. "Hear her? Even she knows you are a fool. Queen, step down. Surrender your crown, or—" But before he could finish, the queen moved. She became a storm. Her cloak flared as she struck forward, her hands glowing with power that shattered the ground beneath her feet. Guards and rebels alike were thrown back by the force. The rebel leader cried out, trying to drag the girl with him, but the queen's golden eyes blazed like suns. "Do not touch what is mine," she roared. In a flash, the rebel's weapon was torn from his hand, the metal melting under her power. The girl was ripped free, pulled into the queen's grasp. She stumbled into the queen's chest, breathless, trembling, but alive. The hall fell into chaos. Rebels fought desperately, but the queen's fury was unstoppable. Her guards rallied, striking down the traitors one by one. When it was over, the throne hall was filled with silence again, broken weapons, fallen bodies, and the smell of smoke. The girl clung to the queen's robe, her heart pounding, her body shaking uncontrollably. The queen looked down at her, her face still fierce, but her voice low now. "I told you," she whispered. "They would use you against me." Tears stung the girl's eyes. "Then why keep me near you?" The queen's golden gaze softened, though her jaw tightened with unspoken words. "Because," she said quietly, "I would rather risk everything than lose you." The girl's breath caught. For the first time, she saw not just a conqueror, not just a ruler, but a woman standing on the edge of something even more dangerous than rebellion. And she knew then, the queen had not saved her as a possession. She had saved her as something far greater. The throne hall was still heavy with the smell of smoke. Guards carried away the fallen rebels, while nobles whispered from the shadows, their jeweled robes stained with fear. Yet the alien queen stood tall at the center of it all, her golden eyes burning, her robe torn, her markings glowing faintly from the power she had unleashed. And beside her, trembling but unbroken, stood the human girl. The courtiers bowed low, not out of respect but out of fear. They had seen something they never expected. Their queen risking everything for a human. Whispers slid through the air like blades. "She is weak. She is blinded. She is no longer fit to rule." The queen ignored them. Her hand lingered near the girl's shoulder, not quite touching, but close enough to steady her. The girl looked up at her, her chest still rising and falling with uneven breaths. She could not believe she was alive. She could not believe the queen had chosen her over everything else. Later, in the quiet of the queen's private chamber, the girl finally found her voice. "You saved me," she whispered. The queen turned her gaze away, staring at the soft glow of the crystal lamp. "I saved myself," she said, though her voice carried no weight. The girl stepped closer. "No, You could have let me die. You could have stayed safe. But you didn't. The queen's golden eyes returned to her, sharp but full of something unspoken. Do you know what I have done, human? I have burned worlds. I have crushed empires. I am feared across the stars. Yet when they put a blade to your throat, I froze. One weakness, and it will cost me everything. The girl's voice trembled, but she did not look away. Maybe it's not weakness. The queen's brows furrowed. What else could it be? The girl's lips parted. She wanted to say the word, but it felt too heavy, too dangerous. Instead, she said, "It's something they'll never understand, and maybe that's why it matters." Silence filled the chamber. The queen stepped closer, and for the first time, her hand touched the girl's cheek. The warmth of her skin was real, her touch both gentle and unsteady, as though even she did not fully believe she could do it. "You confuse me," the queen whispered. "You frighten me more than any war." The girl's breath caught. "Because you don't control me," she said softly. The queen's eyes blazed, but not with anger, with something else, something deeper. Before either could speak again, the chamber doors opened. A messenger bowed low. His voice hurried. "My queen!" The rebellion grows outside the palace. The nobles rally the people. They say you are no longer fit to rule. The queen's jaw tightened. She looked at the girl, then at the messenger. "Prepare the guard," she ordered. "We end this tonight." The messenger bowed and hurried away. The girl's chest tightened. "You can't fight them all," she whispered. The queen's eyes softened. "I can fight anyone, but I will not fight without you." That night, the battle came to the palace gates. Thousands of rebels stormed forward, their weapons blazing, their voices shouting for the queen's crown. But they were met by the queen herself, standing tall on the black crystal steps, her golden eyes shining like suns. And beside her stood the girl. The nobles sneered. "Look at her, a queen who hid behind a slave." But the queen raised her hand, her voice carrying across the battlefield. "No," she said, her tone sharp and commanding. "I do not hide behind her. I stand with her. She is no slave. She is my choice, my equal, and if you wish to take my crown, you'll have to face not only my power, but hers." Gasps spread through the crowd. Even the girl's heart stumbled at the words. Equal? The rebels charged. The battle was fierce, fire and steel clashing in the night. The queen's power blazed, shaking the ground, her bioluminescent markings glowing brighter than ever. But she did not fight alone. The girl, though fragile and human, used her wits, pulling fallen weapons, striking when she could, warning the queen of attacks from behind. Together, they stood. When the smoke cleared, the rebels lay broken, their cries fading into silence. The survivors fled into the night, their rebellion crushed. The palace stood scarred but unfallen. The queen breathed heavily, her robe torn, her golden eyes dim from exhaustion. The girl stood at her side, her hands scraped, her body trembling, but her spirit burning bright. Slowly, the queen looked at her, her voice rough but steady. "You should have run." The girl shook her head, her eyes shining with tears. "Not without you." For the first time, the queen smiled, a small, fragile smile that cracked the mask she had worn for so long. She reached out, taking the girl's hand in her own, and in that moment, the palace no longer felt like a cage. It felt like a choice. The girl had been purchased as a slave, but in the end, she had become something far greater. Proof that even the most feared queen in the galaxy could not escape the power of a human heart.